Welcome to this first video in this Stata 101 series, where I am going to share the things that I wish I knew when I was just starting out in Stata. This first video is going to focus on mastering the master do file. The master do file is probably one of the most underrated tasks that any Stata project needs to have. I'm just going to briefly go through what you need to make a functional master do file. You want to create this do file for any project you're doing before you start the project. I just want to clarify that. But if you are already in the middle of a project, you can totally go back and integrate this do file. So here I'm just going to show you a theoretical Stata project X. I have different files in here, and I'm going to open up my master do file. Just explain this a bit. So in the beginning of this file, oh, hello Stata. I do not have the newest version. This is not sponsored. Okay. The first thing that you want to do is define your Stata settings. You'll clear the environment. You'll indicate your version. Here I'm using old version 16. This comes in handy if you're coming back to the project later and you need to know what version you worked in. Now, setting up the overall directory path. This is pretty significant and probably one of the most helpful things because you can call to your Stata file that you're working from wherever you're at in the project. So just to briefly explain this code, here I'm making a global macro for a file path, which is where my project is going to reside in. And I'm calling this file path PP. It's just random. I guess it means project path, but you could name it whatever you want. I'm working mainly from MacBook, so the way you find out where this project path is a little weird, or the way I find out what the project path is weird. Maybe there are smarter ways to do this, but I have to go into a text folder, open a new document, make it plain, and drag and drop my folder into it. That's how I get my info on this path for this folder. If you have a Windows computer, it's much easier. I think you just right click on the folder and you could figure out where this folder is sitting, the project path. Now you want to identify your additional directory paths. These are just some examples of other subfolders that you'll have in here that you'll want to identify the path for. Again, you just make a global macro. You could call it whatever you want. Here I'm calling it DD, and that is equal to this file path. Here I have this this $sign. And this $sign in combination with global is just a convenient way to reference the value of a global macro in Stata, which in this case is this file path. So in this case, I've just gone ahead and indicated the 3 global macros that are probably most important, where the data is residing, where the log file is residing, and GraphRes if you're making graphs. Now to quickly demonstrate how this would work, I'll show you another file. First, I gotta run this really fast. Running this in Stata, and that worked. Now I just want to check if my global paths worked, if these macros are working. So first I'll try with my log file. Looks okay. Now to see if this log file is working, I'm just gonna check in the folder, check the log. And look at that, it is working. I don't know why I have data sitting in my log file, but whatever, I'll address that later. Now I am going to check to see if my global path for my data is working. Okay, that looks like it's working. Let's see, data browser. Yep, it's there. So the data that I pre-downloaded and put into my data folder worked when I called for it. So yes, this is just a really simple overview on how to make a master do file and some of the most important components of it. I suggest if you're just starting out in Stata that you type out all of your own code. It just really helps later on when you want to advance. And also just to note, if you're using a PC, that these would go in the opposite direction. The / would go in the backward slash. Okay, thanks for listening. Hope this was helpful. And if you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to indicate. Thank you. If you have any comments or suggestions, if you know of a smarter way of how to do any of this, feel free to indicate them in the comment section.